Gracie was out and all of a sudden heard shit about the porch. Come running in.
Do you want to record that ordinance?
Go under record when he reads that.
I'm just going to read this part about okay. I should have
Yeah, go all the way through 6.
Good, how are you? Probably.
Oh, well. Sorry.
I think they're trying to, I think they're going to do this live stream this or something. I think they're going to live stream.
Yeah, and I saw something in on the good side.
No, I think there's a camera.
Yeah, and
Is Kim ready? She's recording. I I now call to order the September 26, 2022 Planning and Zoning Board meeting. We now have a quorum. Are there any changes to the agenda? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
So moved.
Is there a second? Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Conflict of interest statement. In accordance with North Carolina Government Ethics Act, it is the duty of every board member to avoid both conflict of interest and appearance of conflict, and are instructed to refrain from participating in any matter coming before this board if there is a conflict of interest or appearance of such conflict. If a board member has a known conflict of interest or appearance of conflict with respect to any matter coming before the board today, please identify the conflict and refrain from any participation in the matter involved. Does any member of the board have a conflict of interest in any matter coming before the board today?
Councilman, I do. First one on the docket, I have family near and around new business number A. I do not have any vested interest in that decision, but I just want to let it be known.
Okay, Lynn, I think last time we voted on that.
That's right. It's up to the board in this situation. When there's not a financial conflict, it goes completely up to the board. You all need to take a vote on that.
I think that was a similar situation the last time.
Yes, it was.
Okay, is there a motion
So moved.
to recommend?
That he can participate.
Okay,
Second.
are all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you.
All right, so you don't get out of this. Is there a motion to approve the regular minutes of August 22nd, 2022?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Are there any changes? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Old business, we have none. And before we get started on new business, I'd like to welcome everyone here, and we're very glad you're here to participate in our meeting this evening. Before we get started, I would like to let everyone know that the Planning Board is an advisory board that makes recommendations on zoning issues. The recommendation of the board is forwarded to Town Council, who make the final decision on zoning matters. Per North Carolina General Statutes, planning boards do not have to take public comment. However, the town of Troutman has historically allowed comment during planning board meetings and considers citizens' input very important. In order to allow time for applicant to present their cases, the public to speak, and to ensure that the board has adequate time to discuss the request and make a recommendation, we will implement the following rules this evening. Please keep your comments as brief as possible. There will be a maximum of 5 minutes per speaker. If anyone has already spoken on a topic you are planning to comment on, please only add additional information to the comment. Please don't repeat the information. All comments are to be directed to the board. Questions of staff and the applicant will be handled by the board after public comment time. All right, under new business, and each one of the, you'll just, we'll announce which public comment, what it's about, and then if it's the one that you're here to speak on, then you'll have the opportunity to speak. Item 7A on our agenda is case number CZHI 2203, North Fork Business Park, Leon E. Bowens Jr., to consider a rezoning of 38 acres approximately located on 164 Nugget Lane. The request is to rezone the property from RS Suburban Residential District to CZHI Conditional Zoning Heavy Industrial District. I will now turn it over to Lynn.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, we do have before us this evening a request for a conditional zoning. The applicant, as you stated, Mr. Chairman, is Leon Bowens. The property we're looking at this evening and considering for rezoning is located at 164 Nugget Lane. It is off of Murdock Road. It is currently zoned RS, which is suburban residential in the town limits of Troutman. The request this evening is to rezone the property to CZHI, which is Conditional Heavy Industrial. I want to point out that the UDO requires all new HI districts to go through the conditional zoning process, so that is one of the reasons we're here this evening. The purpose of this rezoning is to allow the 38-acre parcel to be developed for a multi-tenant, multi-building industrial park. On your screens in front of you and on the overhead, you can see an outline of the property there in red. You can see it's located right off Murdock, just near the fork there where Old Murdock Road and Murdock Road meet. This is a copy of our current zoning map. You can see that the property is zoned suburban residential. This map is interesting, and I just wanted to note that you can see where the industrial zoning is just to the west of these properties. There, just slightly to the west, and that hashed mark piece of property is the recent rezoning that the board and the council approved for a very similar project at the entrance to this development. On the lower side, that heavy industrial is the Walmart Distribution Center, but as you can see, there's also suburban residential to the east and the north and the south. In blue, that's the new Barium Seasons or Barium Springs property, the Wakefield master plan, so those have all been approved for commercial, mixed use and industrial development. This is a copy of our current land use map. The property is currently shown for residential agriculture, rural agricultural, and residential. Again, you can see across the street and to the west are properties that show for future land use for industrial and employment center. This is a copy of the concept plan that was submitted with the application. I want to point out with conditional zonings, these are site specific. So we always receive a concept plan of what the applicant intends to do to the property or how he plans to develop the property. These conditional zonings are site specific, so if this is approved, this site plan does become a part of that approval. As you can see on the concept plan, there's several lots involved. The buildings shown are different sizes. The applicant has indicated that these will be built per the user, so they're site specific as per each building and how they'll be developed. There'll be a single entry from Murdock Road into the property and then a second road there to the right. There's also 2 stormwater BMPs facilities proposed for the property, as well as a 50-foot buffer showing there on the southeast corner where it's adjacent to existing residential properties. We always look at the TIA. A TIA was required for this property. For those of you maybe in the audience who aren't familiar with TIAs, what these are traffic impact analysis. What this is the applicant is required by the town to hire a traffic engineer to do a traffic study to see what improvements are needed and what impact the development will have on the surrounding roadways. This was done. A copy of the recommendations are in your staff report. They do include a westbound right lane along Old Murdock Road onto Highway 21. So in other words, as you approach 21 on Old Murdock, they're recommending that a westbound turn lane be included there. They're also recommending that a northbound left turn lane on the I-77 northbound ramp be included. And then, of course, a full movement access from Nugget Lane onto Murdock that will include a stop sign. This property is not located in a watershed. However, due to the size and the impact of the project, the town will require those on-site BMPs, which were shown on the concept plan. Whenever we hold conditional zone, or whenever we have a conditional zoning request, the first step in that process is a community meeting. A community meeting was held on this request on August 30th. There were around 10 people in attendance at that meeting. There's a copy of the community meeting report in your packets. Several concerns and comments were raised that evening that included traffic. There were questions about who the proposed tenants of these buildings would be. There were also questions about buffers and then the compatibility with the residential properties to the east of the site. Based on the information, specifically the land use plan, specifically other developments that the town has recently approved in the area, staff is recommending approval of the request. Again, based on the fact that heavy industrial zone properties as well as light industrial zone properties are located in the area, as well as the Walmart Distribution Center, which is in close proximity to the site. It is unlikely that rural residential agricultural uses will be in harmony with the surrounding uses. Those are staff's recommendations. We all want to point out that our UDO does contain additional safeguards that will ensure the quality of the development on the site. That's staff's recommendation. The applicant is here this evening as well, and I believe they can answer questions and possibly have a presentation for you. So, Mr. Chairman, if you'd like, I'll turn it over to them at this time.
Yes, that would be good. The applicant would like to give their presentation.
Andrew's having to do it. We're having some technical problems, so he's going to be changing the slides for you guys. Yeah.
All right. Thanks for having us today. I'm Sam Barnett. I'm a real estate broker with Sam Barnett.
Excuse me, I'm sorry, but you need to address the board. So if you want to go to the podium, yes.
Stand there at the mic, that way
Everybody can hear you.
we can
Okay.
hear, and they can record, the
Perfect.
recording will hear it too.
I'm Sam Barnett. I'm the applicant's real estate broker, Sam Barnett Real Estate. And this is Leon Butch Bowens Jr. He's an Iredell County resident since 1994, general contractor since 1988. Past development projects similar to this, Southport Business Park in Mooresville, Biscayne Business Park in Concord. Butch has been the general contractor for the Walmart Distribution Center in Troutman, the Cowbush Motorsports in Mooresville, the Bevco in Mooresville, and Besco in Mooresville as well. To summarize what North Fork Business Park is, it's going to be a Class A, full custom build to suit flex buildings that we're going to sell for sale, which are all have pre-sold reservations on, just waiting for the approval. These are very upscale buildings, upgraded stucco sidings. There's no crinkled steel on any of these buildings. It's going to be around 10 buildings. Lot sizes range from 2 to 10 acres. I think on the plan that we sent, we have less buildings now that we've kind of combined some things since we made this presentation. Building sizes range from 10,000 to 200,000 square feet. All of our parking is concrete. We'll have 2 retention ponds for the water management, one on the left side, one on the right, with a major focus on making sure that our landscaping is attractive. We want to, be compatible with our surrounding community, and we will have a strict owners association to make sure everyone complies with our rules and regulations. The current reservation holders we have now are numerous buildings are going to be pre-sold that are going to be leased out. Some as a single tenant, some will be multi-tenant, just depending on who the tenants end up being for the purchasers. We have part supplier distributor as one of the reservation holders, trade show, display creator, irrigation products manufacturer, and there'll be some motorsports people in there as well. You've seen this is the site plan here. To the left of the entrance here, you'll see there's a matching building to the right side of our entrance, and that is the property that was referenced earlier that's already been approved for rezoning. And our intention is to allow an access to that property from ours to incorporate that into our business park. There's a video. I don't know if it's going to play or not. Will that play on there? I don't think so. Okay. All right. We got a couple stills of renderings of examples of what some of the buildings will look like. This is the entrance from Murdock Road with the property that's already been approved on the left here, and it'll be a similar 40,000 square foot building on the right. And this is an example of the kind of buffers that we're going to be doing with our property line between us and the residential properties in front of it. Here's a sample of one of our 18,000 square foot buildings, and they'll vary some. The aesthetics will vary based on whatever the buyer decides to choose once we do our build to suit with them. And this is a 200,000 square foot here, and 100,000 square foot. And again, these are just general renderings. They'll be more specific as we go throughout the process. And this is just a few examples of our sample work. And that's what we got. Did you want to say anything?
I'm happy to answer any questions.
Not at the moment, I don't.
Any questions at this moment?
I got a few. With the TIA that was there, who did your TIA?
Kimley Horn.
Do you know what classification of the land use did they use?
No.
Reason they have different breakdowns of the classifications. You can have a warehouse, you can have a distribution, you can have other things. If it's going to be speculative,
They based it on.
General business park.
General business park, yeah.
okay. So,
It was general business. It was.
Okay.
oh, okay.
I'm the engineer.
Ha, even better. That works.
I'm John Darden.
Okay. Could you explain to me the construction of the westbound right turn lane along Old Murdock Road?
Well, I'm not the traffic engineer, I'm the general civil engineer, so I'm
Okay.
not with Kimley Horn.
All right.
You want me to explain the westbound turn?
Well, the reason I asked this question is, the westbound right turn lane, which would be on Old Murdock Road, is putting traffic through town. And right now, we've got signs up that say no truck traffic. With the warehouse distribution in the south side at exit 42, they pinky promised that they would not have sending trucks up 21 and not sending them up around Hoover Road. So how are the trucks being distributed that have to come down Murdock Road to Amity Hill? So I don't see the consistency of how the trip distribution was done that way.
Yeah, that's a good question, and something the town needs to be taken under advisement. I mean, obviously, these are just their suggestions from Kimley Horn on how to do that. But in the end, yeah, it'll be the town.
I mean, I
and-
know
and-
that there's going to
and
be people
DOT
talking about traffic.
to sort of talk about those things and
Mhm.
and whether to take those into consideration or say, no, this is not
'Cause
going to work out.
If it's going to be all Murdock Road, then that means that the improvements need to be done at Murdock and Amity Hill.
Yeah.
And I see are you going to add additional 375 feet of storage to the northbound left? Due to there's some right now, is that an additional 375?
I believe they just want it, just sort of striped out. Well, I think that's a total of 375 on there.
Existing or proposed?
Proposed, I believe.
So what's there now, you're going to add another 375 feet?
I believe so. I'll have to check and see, look at the report a little bit further, but that was their suggestion, was to add additional storage.
'Cause, I mean,
One of
currently-
those off-ramp lanes.
Yeah, currently, right now, if traffic backs up, you've got traffic going at 80 miles an hour and a stopped car on the ramp.
Yeah.
You got a mess.
There's only so much.
So that part right there, I have some major concerns with as far as the trip distribution, I think is skewed. And I mean, I'm just asking.
No,
I haven't seen it.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you to some degree with that.
And so that's where I was just trying to get some clarification on that.
Right, yeah, I have limited knowledge with what their reasoning was behind all that, but, yeah, I would tend to agree that there's only so much queuing we can have on that.
If you've got this much queuing here, which would give you, where you'd have to have it on the interstate as well as Murdock, or Old Murdock Road, why don't you have left turns on Murdock Road to get into your facility?
Yeah, that's something we can consider doing.
Well,
I mean,
plus, I mean, and that's what's
Into the
good.
bar.
Just at the first gut feeling I saw this, I don't know if town is gonna look at it or not, but you've got one main entrance into the site.
yes.
Fire rescue, if that entrance is closed, how do you have a second entrance? Or do you have the capabilities of having a fire-only access point?
Right now, just the way the property is laid out, it's one access into that park right now.
I don't
And
know.
that's something we defer to the fire marshal's office when it comes to these commercial type developments. I know there's specific entrance requirements for residential. But on these type of developments, we would definitely defer to them on this. And if they require it, then they'll have to
Okay,
provide it.
I'm pretty sure that how many square feet are you talking about? Because you didn't get a total.
Square foot of building?
Yes, sir.
We're looking about 500, 600,000
Total?
total.
Okay. Because, I mean, just looking at that, I forgot what the threshold is, but it's way less than that amount for a second entrance. And so that's where we were just trying to get.
They ran it based on 500,000, I believe.
Okay.
But we're actually gonna end up being less than that. We're gonna be in the 4 range.
Okay. I mean, I just, with the numbers that we have as far as using a business park and it generating that much traffic, you've got I've got some concerns.
Well, we have some concerns about the traffic report as well, because we think the traffic is way over exaggerated from what our experience is with the other parks.
Well, I will tell you right now, just by being conservative, using a higher aggressive 155 high cube sort for this, 1 million square feet will run you about 14,000 vehicles a day. I know you're not going to have that because you've already listed some of that you've got right now, which is not going to be that. But you're still going to have if you got a significant on the interstate as well as other locations, then you've got an issue on Murdock Road, and I would almost assume Amity Hill and Murdock. So I mean, like I said.
We're working through it.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, when we get into the details, we'll figure out if we need to do additional turn lanes or another access point.
Okay. All right. That's for right now. That's my questions. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Do you plan on having manufacturing in there as well?
We want to leave that as a possibility. Since they're build-to-suit clients, we want to have the ability for people to do that rent the property.
That's why you have a heavy industrial instead of light?
Right. We don't currently have any knowledge of that coming in, but we want to leave that availability so that the property owners are able to lease to people that want to do heavy industrial.
On your Mooresville project, do you have manufacturing in there?
Carbon fiber,
Yeah.
carbon fiber,
So it's really lightweight stuff?
lightweight, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Nothing crazy?
CNC machines. Yeah, nothing,
Just small stuff?
yeah. Nice small.
Now, how are you gonna govern that? I mean, if somebody wants to come in there and start doing manufacturing and polluting the rivers and the sky and all that stuff, how are you gonna keep those people out? I mean, how are you gonna deal with that?
Well, that's what the EPA is for, right?
I don't know. I don't know. It's
We do our best job in screening our buyers, and we're going to have a owners association to regulate the best we can, but, you know, we can't get people to not commit crimes in there either. We can only regulate what we have control of, and if someone's going to be non-compliant, that's going to be for the police or EPA or anyone else to regulate. But we're doing our best to provide a project that's good for the community.
who's gonna manage this? HOA or whatever you call that? What'd you call that?
Owners Association.
Owners Association.
Owners
Who's gonna-
Association.
Well, you
I will. Probably.
You're gonna
with
do that
other-
as a
other-
developer?
Other members, yeah.
You're gonna set it up,
Yeah.
just like an
Set it
HOA would
up,
do?
yeah.
Okay. So there's gonna be rules going in, I guess is what
Yeah.
I'm saying.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
He runs the other park.
So that would be sort of like the other park. That's really what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
Yeah, he runs it for the other
Okay,
park.
I'm good with that. Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions or at this time?
Mr. Chairman, I did want to point out on that TIA that DOT is still reviewing it, so we don't have final recommendations on that.
Okay, thank you, Lynn. All right, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
We'll probably have some more questions a little later. Okay, I now open the meeting up for public comment. Anyone who'd like to speak will need to sign in at the roster. If there is anyone who'd like to speak on this zoning request,
Can I present a petition to you all that I have? Jessica Williams.
yes.
You gotta get a little closer to the mic too when you talk. You gotta get a little closer to the mic when you talk, yeah.
Good evening. I want to start out by saying thank you for listening to me tonight. My fiance and I moved here. We fell in love with the quaint feel of this town and the beautiful country back roads. I live on Murdock Road, and for myself and many others, that small town feel is rapidly changing due to the heavy industrial development. For myself and all the others that live on Murdock Road, we are constantly reminded of the big business that has encroached on all of our lives. We experience loudspeakers, blaring noises, and bright lights from all hours of the night, from the Walmart distribution center and the concrete factory, to name a few. The traffic on the road from 18-wheelers seemed to never stop. But I'm not here tonight to rant about the horrific traffic or the late-night disturbances that we have to endure every day. I am here tonight to voice my concerns about the burden that heavy industry puts on the health and well-being of the people of this community. My fiance and I decided to have our well water tested for contaminants since we live in such close proximity to industrial buildings. We had a standard well water test and then a more extensive test completed. That's when we found out that our water has been polluted with hexavalent chromium. This particular type of chromium in our well is not naturally occurring and only occurs from heavy industrial pollutants, such as metalwork, welding, and other heavy industrial processes. This pollutant poses such a health risk that there is even a movie based upon it. It is called Aaron Brockovich. According to the CDC and the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, hexavalent chromium targets the respiratory system, kidneys, liver, skin, and eyes. It is carcinogenic. This is the water that we bathe in, brush our teeth, drink from, grow gardens from, etc. We are continuously exposed to this cancer-causing agent. We have discovered that 2 of the individuals who were previously living in our home that we had just purchased had cancer. Some may say this is just a coincidence. While it is far-fetched to accuse any one industry of this contamination, one fact is clear. The groundwater and possibly the soil has been tainted due to heavy industrial business at some point in time. There are at least 5 heavy industries in close proximity to our home, which is rural residential agriculture. If approved, this proposed 38-acre heavy industrial development will, in fact, continue to impose on our health and our well-being, as it will sit directly adjacent to the multiple residents' property lines in my backyard as well. Troutman's strategic land use plan states heavy industry zoning, quote, may constitute health or safety hazards, have greater than average impacts on the environment, or diminish the use and enjoyment of nearby property. Board members, I would like to ask you, is Troutman's Unified Development Ordinance a legally binding document for zoning standards? Under Standard 2.1, Purpose and Applicability, the first 2 bullet points listed are to implement the comprehensive plan and to promote public health, safety, and general welfare. In Standard 9.8.4, under Criteria for Conditional Zoning, number 3 states the proposed conditional zoning district uses minimization of adverse effects, including visual impact on adjacent lands and avoidance of significant adverse impacts on surrounding lands. Heavy industry in the middle of a residential zoning would most definitely force all of the above on the families surrounding this development. In Standard 9.8.4 under Criteria number 1 states, the proposed conditional zoning district shall use appropriateness for its proposed location and consistency with the purposes, goals, objectives, and policies of the current land use plan. How will the Town Council and Planning Board vote on rezoning this property to heavy industrial when the current land use plan states that the north side of Murdock Road is to be used as rural residential agriculture and not heavy industrial? I may live inside of the extraterritorial jurisdiction, but I believe that my voice should still be heard by the town of Troutman. I live and thrive in this town. I purchase my groceries at the local food line. I'm a frequent patron of the shops and restaurants in town. I pump my gas at the corner service station. I have spent thousands of dollars at the hardware supply store located in this town. My fiance and I envisioned Troutman as a place where we could settle our roots and feel safe from environmental dangers. A future for our children, including the small things, to play outside and not worry about a factory in our backyard or what type of hazards would be close by. That vision is quickly turning into a nightmare. I understand Troutman is developing and tax revenue benefits our town. However, I ask the planning board, who is ultimately paying the price? for the burden of heavy industrial development. Is industrial business worth more to the town than the livelihoods of the families that live inside the ETJ? Please consider the 92 people who have stated on this petition that I presented to you right now that they are against the development of this land to heavy industrial. I ask the planning board to please remember us when you pass your recommendation on to the council for the final vote. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You need to sign in there. Did you sign in?
I did.
You did.
Good evening, folks. My name is Charlie King. I am a neighbor of Jessica's, and I want to thank you as well for taking the time to listen to us. Some of the concerns that I have are related to that particular property. I am in much agreement with her, especially about the toxicity or potential toxicity of things. Murdock Road is beginning, for some reason, to become a cancerous road. And there are quite a few cases of it that we've been made aware of, and some very recently. So it is a concern of mine as well, as it was with her. I do have a question, though, that maybe you can help me with. There are lots of areas that were started in development and abandoned for whatever reason. Some people had educated me and told me that 2008, the recession, had a lot to do with things. But from a common sense perspective, there's a lot of unused land down by exit 42 that I believe would be better suited for these folks to develop. They have access to the highway. They have access to infrastructure. They have access to utilities that are already in place. They don't have to worry about an ETJ. It's already established. So it's, I guess, more of a question and a slight concern of why things wouldn't be developed in that area and just keep it all centralized. Because it seems that there's quite a bit of industrial, residential, and industrial and residential. It seems to be smatterings of things all over. I'm just curious of why that may be. There's also a zoning precedent that I attended for light industrial for a property that was directly next to where I live. And if you like, I can point it out. But the same argument was made because heavy at that point in time, and I have to speculate, but it was years ago in a council prior to all of you, that they had turned around and agreed that heavy was not necessary in there and could potentially be a burden to the residential base that's there, and very quickly adopted such. Not totally am I in agreement with the entire project because, like I say, I believe it's better suited for some other place. But it's just something to consider. Toxicology. I kind of stepped on that just a minute or two ago. It is a concern, especially with the watersheds and things like that, because whatever may go on is going to wind up in a retention pond. We're all on well and septic. And most of us are there for a reason, because we chose that. And if that gets contaminated, and like the gentleman had stated before with the question that was asked, basically, and I may get this wrong, but who's responsible for it? I'm sure you would ultimately agree that once the problem exists, it can't be a finger-pointing game of, well, it's the EPA or, well, it's this. We are already dealing with it. So may I suggest, even though, again, I still believe that this is better positioned somewhere else, but maybe we do something with soil and water sampling and do it often to make sure we don't have a problem. I had come from a portion of the country where this was a gigantic problem, and lots of people got sick, and unfortunately, lots of people died. I lived in a town where the Superfund was, and it was a disaster. So I'll leave it at that. That's where a little bit of my tentativeness comes from. Support infrastructure, the roadways. I can comment on the fact that I personally have witnessed folks coming out of Walmart parking turning left, heading westbound on, and almost got in major collisions. I have my concerns. I also have my concerns about the TIA. My mom is 84 years old. She loves to relax and sit on the front porch. As a joke one day, they said to her, says, "Hey, can you do me a favor and count the cars that go by?" She quit at 6,000 because she was sick and tired of doing it. I moved in that area 15 years ago. And in my estimation and speculation, traffic has increased in that area 5-fold. And traffic, heavy traffic, can be found on that road after midnight, sometimes up to 2 o'clock in the morning.
Clear.
Also, with the concrete trucks, there are times, for whatever reason, that they run deep into a second shift, and, you know, they're doing things the concrete trucks would do. It gets to be a burden. Housing values. There's a lot of folks that are in that close proximity that have been living there for 30 years. There's a lot of folks that are very deeply rooted on Murdock Road. I am a little bit concerned for myself, but for these folks, because that 30 years is an investment they can't get back. And for some folks, that may be their nest egg for their retirement. If this happens to do something, pick any number of things where it decreases and declines the values of any surrounding properties, that puts them in jeopardy. And they've worked very hard to keep those houses through many recessions and many family problems, things like that. I'm concerned with that. This is just something I thought of on a whim on my way here today, so I jotted it down quickly. Maybe, if this does go through, if you guys do recommend it, again, every time I will stress the fact that I believe it was placed, better placed somewhere else. But if there's possibly a condition, and I'm doing this strictly from ignorance, so please bear with me, but maybe it might be worthwhile for these folks that are going to develop to envelop those properties. I'm sorry, I walked away. Envelop those properties and bring that together, because that would also help them. It gives them more land usage, but it also helps us because we don't have the worry. It seems like somewhat of a middle ground solution, potentially. Again, I'm one. I don't know how others feel that own property in that area. It's only a suggestion. I also, last statement that I would like to make is, I called the town. In the time frame, and I'm sorry, I wish I could be specific, but I didn't realize that I would have to recall this at a later date. But I had called about the time where the concrete plant was being constructed. And I spoke to someone in the town. And of course, when I need to recall the name, I can't remember it. But I believe maybe Scott. I spoke to multiple people within the town. Nobody can recall who he is. There's speculation of who he is, and there's strong speculation that they actually do know who it was. But what's really important is he had turned around and assured me that the north side of Murdock will not be developed. And this was not long ago. And now all of a sudden we're in a situation where I have some distrust. And it's not aimed at anybody here. It's just a matter of, I reached out to the township that I love to be in, and now it's a different situation. So I'm uneasy. That's basically it for me, and I appreciate the time.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you. We're gonna have to try to keep this in the 5 minutes because we got a lot of stuff we gotta hear.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, that's what we're timing. When the beeper goes off, that's the 5 minutes.
That's it?
Yes.
Yep. Are you gonna be doing this, Lynn? Okay. So when it goes, you gotta,
Try to wrap it up, or
I'm running.
preferably if, if we can get it quicker, because we got a lot we gotta try to
Yes, sir.
hear.
My name's Tim Mills, 360 Murdock Road. Lived there almost for 25 plus years now, along with probably 4 or 5 of the others on there. Raised a family, 2 kids, 2 boys. Used to ride Murdock Road on bicycles from my house to Troutman with them. And I'm not 100 years old, so it hasn't been that long ago we used to do that with the traffic situation. Was out yesterday. My granddaughter, she was riding her bicycle, came over and she said, "Why is there so many tractor or big trucks on the road today?" I hear. She said, "I can't even hardly go out next to the road." And I said, "Well, you're not supposed to go to the road anyway." But at the same time, you know, she even noticed there was a whole lot of trucks on. Hunted a lot. I know I spent one Saturday morning, all morning, sitting in a deer stand thinking I was hearing a deer blow. And I looked around all over the place. Finally, I got up and went down in the woods, and I traced it all the way back over to the concrete plant, and there was an airline over there going psh, psh, all morning. So that was under progress. But the fact is, you know, we have lived there for a good while now. And we've been encroached upon, and feel like we're being encroached upon in our neighborhoods around there. And even at the last meeting that I was here that I attended, I said something about what would you do if this was you living here and somebody was moving in? And the answer I got was, well, I would just move. Well, that's not really the answer that I want to hear. The answer is that I would like to live here, retire here, and stay here around this area. But for someone to say, okay, I would just move. Now I'd ask you, how would you feel about that if you'd been there that long? Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Kim, did you get any comments? Okay, I will now close the public comment time. Are there any comments from the board?
Actually, my questions are for the town. So with heavy industrial, in terms of ordinances for both noise, odor, and lights, do we have any kind of guidelines that these businesses have to abide by, so like during the normal working hours, so that it doesn't impact the residents in the middle of the night?
Well, we do have a town-wide noise ordinance. It doesn't just apply to industrial uses, it applies to any noise in the town. And we recently just updated that ordinance. We had something that was a little loose, and the council wanted to tighten that up some. So we did adopt a new noise ordinance. We also put in there some decibel levels so that we can actually go out and measure these things and fine people when these things are happening. But what a lot of times in the middle of the night, we don't, you know, we need to know that it's happening. We can't just find someone unless the violation's witnessed. So a lot of times we'll ask, you know, if neighbors are experiencing something like that, to please let us know when it's happening. But we do have those ordinances, yes. We also have nuisance ordinances that apply to all properties townwide, not just industrial, but those are all things, you know, light, noise, any type of nuisance, those are covered under there. And we have a code enforcement officer who can follow up on those type of things, as well as police officers in certain situations.
So what's the process for that? So say Jessica's minding her own business and somebody's flashing lights and making all kinds of noise out there. What's the process?
Yeah.
Call police?
Well, probably, I mean, she could, but really what she would need to do is just to reach out to the planning department, and then we would follow up with a code enforcement visit, and we would do start an inspection is what we would do. And if it's in violation of our ordinance, then we can start some sort of remediation. you know, 9 times out of 10, business owners want to work with the town. That's been my experience. And if you go out and you meet with them and you say, look, we're getting these complaints, you know, a lot of times they're just, they will adhere. But we do have a process in which we can start fines and that type of thing. So.
Go ahead, I'm sorry, sir.
I just got a question with the EPA results that she had. Was that turned into somebody at town, or I mean, how does it proceed?
The town wouldn't really get involved with that. That would really be more of an EPA thing. We have a water and sewer system, but we don't get involved with wells. So maybe the county environmental health department is someone she could reach out to, since they permit wells. I would suggest that would be the first place that. But the town, we don't address those type of issues with wells.
And my other question would be, I don't know if the developer would consider light industrial to cut back on the noise, and I guess it's not going to cut back on the traffic, but Mark already pointed out the issues with the traffic. But I don't know if the developer would consider
Yeah, that would be a question for him. Yeah.
heavy to light, maybe?
Do we have light and heavy?
We do, yes.
Oh, because it used to be, I thought they combined them into one.
We have a light industrial district.
Okay, good.
I've got one more question. Have we had any inquiries of any development going into the Ontrud Business Park or Julian Place Business Park?
You know, I'm not familiar with the Andrew Business Park per
Take
se.
Watermark Road and
I know
go
that
straight
they have. I
in
know
between
that
the
they
bar-
have their. I'm sorry.
It's between the fairgrounds and.
Yeah, I'm familiar with Andrew. I did not know they had a business park there.
Mhm.
I know they operate a business. I know they recently expanded, and I know that we have someone looking to do some sort of a warehouse use behind the concrete plant. That's all I'm familiar with.
Okay.
The public, I'm sorry, but the public comment time is closed.
Understood. I just had a comment that I addressed the lady's concern. I just wanted to share it briefly.
We can't
We
allow.
have to follow the rules.
Any other comments to staff or questions? Okay, I think we're gonna have some questions for the applicants, if they would like to come back up here. There was a question if you all would consider light industrial.
Not really, I don't.
We'd have to look and see what.
See what it is, yeah, see
Kind
what
of
the available
restrictions
uses
are
are,
between
yeah.
the two.
See what the restrictions are between the two.
Okay, and one of the things I noticed is one of the retention ponds, looks like it's in, the one on the right-hand side, looks like it's in the buffer.
Yeah, we'll pull that back a little bit. Once we get to the design phase, we'll comply fully with the UDO, with the 50-foot buffer.
And I also noticed that the 50-foot buffer is not all around the back.
Yeah, it's only where it's adjacent to residential zone properties.
That's zone residential though.
Oh, the one to the north?
Well, the whole back of it.
Yeah, well, that's the one that's gonna be, yeah. Well, it will be, if need be, but it potentially would be possibly rezoned for a later
I
date.
did see on the map, it said something about future industrial. Heavy industrial on the map here.
We're in the process of acquiring the property behind.
I seen that on the map. But the fact is, right now, it's not.
Correct.
Right.
And I was looking at the buildings, I guess number 2 building is the one that was already rezoned, because it skips 2 on the
Yeah, it's
number.
already, the front left has already been rezoned. That's not part of our project, but we
But
plan
that-
to incorporate it into our project.
That would have been number 2. I was looking at the numbers. They're numbered, the buildings are numbered. There's not a number 2, so I assume maybe that was number 2.
Well, there was 2 parcels and they were merged on that building to the right. So it said 1.
Oh, so 1 and 2 became just 1?
Just 1, yeah, on that latest plan there.
Okay, and there's a lot number 6 that doesn't show a building.
That's where your erosion control.
Well, there's
Well, we
another
got
one
the pond,
beside.
pond is on site. I
Oh,
mean,
gotcha,
potentially,
I'm sorry.
There's
That's where your
another
building's
one.
gonna
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, I kept that one.
There's gonna be an additional building.
There'll be an additional
For
building there
his-
at some
for
point
him.
in time.
But it
not
doesn't
planned.
show it,
No,
Not yet.
so it needs to show it.
Well, we don't have the building designed yet or know exactly because each individual parcel will be developed individually.
But
And
you're
we'll have to
ask-
submit to the town for review and approval
You're
for each
asking,
parcel.
I'm sorry, but you're asking us to approve something that's not, that we don't know what we're approving, because there's nothing there right now.
Okay,
and we put one on.
we can put one on there.
Mr. Chairman, in those situations, the development standards that are part of the, shown on the concept plan would apply to whatever building went there on that
We
parcel.
don't know how big it is,
True. You just have to assume that, however many square feet could fit on that parcel with the setbacks was potentially what could be there.
and how did that get included in the TIA?
It did.
We gave a total square footage number that was over what we would be with that building, just so we had room for error.
And if this is so small, I can't read it. I tried zooming in, took my phone, and I'm trying to read this map. I know it's not your fault, but I guess it has dimensions on these buildings, looks like. And I did zoom in on the building height. It's 4 stories. Impervious area said
There's no 4-story buildings on the property.
None of them are 4 stories.
it's allowing maximum of 4 stories.
That might be by the,
That's just, I guess, by the ordinance.
Well, you can.
Maximum 4 stories per UDO.
That is per UDO, yes. The ordinance would allow that.
It would allow it, but if you don't want that, you can reduce that number.
We could.
And
I don't envision
impervious,
anything over 2 stories.
in impervious area, it says 100%. So that means you can pave everything? The whole place could be paved? That's,
Well, no, not necessarily, just based off of the watershed ordinance, conceivably, yes, but then you have buffers and setbacks and ponds that we have to design for, so it'll be greatly less than
I mean, I know you can't, but it says you can. That kind of bothers me.
that. Okay. Well, we can,
And 38 acres of disturbed, I think that says 38 or 36. I can't really read it. I was trying to read it. I know the total area is approximately 38. So it looks like you can disturb all of it, the way it's written.
But he's got it designed to handle, with your BMPs, to handle the 38, right?
design, yes, you'd have to design for
They
that.
handle all of it.
But again, we'll have buffers in place and infeasible
But it-
topography that'll make it impossible to do that.
And back there in the corner, I think that says area of trees or something in the right-hand top corner, right?
Proposed wooded area.
Yes, yes, because there is a stream feature in that corner,
Okay.
in that northeast corner, so there's going to be a natural area back there.
Andrew, you have the controls in the back, right? Can you go back to the list of potential buyers of the buildings? There was a list of potential buyers.
You're talking about potential uses?
Yeah.
No, look at,
It's like,
You were asked earlier if there was gonna be manufacturing. Did you say, remember you said no to that?
We don't,
stop right there.
We don't currently have a reservation holder that is manufacturing.
The irrigation products manufacturer?
They're distributing. Are they, they're not manufacturing, are they?
No, I don't think so. They get distributed.
You want
And
to clarify that?
I would just say they're manufacturing. I
Yeah.
think they're just distributing.
I think they're distribution, but I don't.
We'd like to retain that use.
Yeah.
And it's got motorsports, or is that gonna be, tuning engines and,
We don't know. It depends on who leases the properties. We want to have the ability to have our owners lease to multiple different types of tenants, and that could be considered fabrication, making race cars, car parts, those kinds of things. So, you know, we would want to retain the ability for our customers, tenants to do that.
what about the noise? What are you gonna do,
We're going to make sure that they comply with the town ordinance.
and how does that handle, Lynn?
I'm sorry.
If they're tuning racing engines, for instance, and they're out there during the day, say it's during the day, is that allowed?
I mean, if you have a business park and there's businesses in that park that are allowed per our ordinance, we have to allow them to operate their business, you know, during normal business hours, yes.
No matter how loud it is?
That is correct. I mean, that's like a manufacturing plant, or, I mean, if they were approved to be there and it's part of what they do, we, you know, we have to allow them to operate their business.
So you can't enforce noise except
I
at
don't know.
night?
Now, if it's excessive, if it's beyond and above and beyond what they normally do as part of their business, then absolutely we could investigate it. But if you're asking if there's going to be no sound coming from these businesses, I don't know that we could say the town would ensure that that happened.
Well, I'm not saying that, but, race car engines are very loud. Any other questions?
I just, clarification, so is it a 13 partial? You said one was combined. How many parcels are we talking about?
8 at this point, plus yours be 9.
9. I think
9.
Yeah. 9.
Thank you.
Okay, it looks like it's
That
9,
one's
including the one that's already been,
Already done, right.
yeah.
8 additional.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Okay.
Yep.
Is there any other questions for the applicants?
I don't. No, thank you.
All right, thank you so much.
Thanks.
Now, I'm sorry I had y'all get back. I may have to have you come back, but there is some land uses that we're also concerned about, which I don't think you're planning on having an adult establishment. I mean, could you come back up here for just, I'm sorry, I know it says in there all uses, but this is conditional and you can't agree to limit some of the things that are on the use table. I kind of doubt that you're planning on having an adult establishment in there.
No.
So that's one we could probably eliminate.
You sure?
Um,
Yeah, no.
You're not sure.
There's distribution, terminal logistics.
We need to keep that.
Would,
Distribution.
Distribution.
We need to retain that use.
there's also hazardous material use and storage.
We can exclude that.
We can exclude that for sure.
Heavy manufacturing.
We want that use.
Well, we'd like to keep that use.
And looks like the warehouse principal use, 150,000 square foot or greater. You said you had one 200,000. Okay. So there's a couple things there that. All right. Is there anything anybody else sees, or I'd hate to keep having you come back up here.
So while you're standing there, forgive me, I'm getting a little bit up in age, but did y'all clarify whether you would be open to light industrial?
No.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Any discussion among the board?
I've got a concern that, we have multiple areas that have an industrial park and they're not being utilized. I think that's, in my opinion, you've got stuff already set aside for, like, you've got one here at Andre's place, and you got, at exit 42. That's got the utilities, access to highways in that regard. I think that, the TIA is performed.
Yeah.
I said performed. I was trying to be nice.
I have concerns about the what may happen there as far as that's not really in, especially with heavy industrial, maybe light industrial, but heavy industrial and the things that could be in there, and we already are having problems with the neighborhood with noise and other issues. Any other comments or concerns? Okay, is there a motion for a recommendation regarding rezoning CZHI 2203?
I'll make a motion to deny.
Let
Hold
him
up.
finish, please.
That's, please be,
Okay.
all right, is there a
You
second?
gotta say the case number. Say the case.
I'm sorry, what now?
Can you say the case number for me, please?
Oh, I apologize.
Mhm.
Case number CZHI 22-03 North Fork Business Park.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, and we need a motion regarding consistency statement of CZHI 22-03.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
The consistency statement is rezoning to CZHI is inconsistent with the 2035 land use map due to the future land use map showing the property to be developed as rural, residential, agricultural. In addition to the consistency with the TIA, which is still under review with the DOT, there's currently rezoned heavy industrial areas closer to exit 42 with infrastructure that would be better suited.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you so much, and all that have come to, for this particular hearing, will need to go to town council for their meeting. They're the one that makes the final decisions.
And that'll be October 13th. Yes, ma'am.
Any people would like to come in and take empty seats? There's some empty seats in here if y'all would like to come in. Item 7B on our agenda is case number RZ 2205, Rocky Creek Commercial, Rocky Creek Development, to consider rezoning of 1.17 acres approximately located at 778 South Main Street. The request is to rezone the properties from ICRA, Iredell County Residential Agriculture District, to Highway Business District. I will now turn it over to Lynn.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, this is a request. This is what we call a traditional rezoning. It is not conditional. The applicant is River Rock Development. The property is stated at 778 South Main Street. The property is currently in the county, so they are looking to annex this property into the town limits. The property in the county zoned residential agricultural. They are requesting that when it is brought into the town, that it's zoned to HB or highway business. They are looking to assign this HB district again as part of the annexation process.
Bless you.
The property that is in question is highlighted there in red. There's an abandoned single-family home on the site currently. It is in Iredell County, and again, an annexation petition has been filed on the property. This is a current copy of our zoning map. You can see the property there highlighted in red is in the county. There's several developments adjacent that have recently been approved by the town. The Rocky Creek development, which this will be a commercial portion of that project if annexed and rezoned, as well as the Redwood Apartments across the street and the Troutman logistics site. This is the land use map that shows the property is medium density residential. However, directly adjacent to the south and across the street are properties that show for commercial use. Again, this is a by right zoning, so the development standards are set by the zoning ordinance or the UDO. There's no concept plan as part of this application since it is by right, so what has to be considered is that any use which in the HB district could potentially be developed on this property. And again, an annexation application has been submitted. Staff would recommend approval of the property that it be rezoned to HB. Based on the land use pattern in the area is commercial, as well as higher density residential uses, and this is near exit 42, that interchange, which promotes highway commercial or highway business. And that is the end of staff's presentation. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer those. I believe the applicant is here this evening as well.
Okay, thank you. Would the applicant?
Good evening.
Good evening.
How are you all?
Good.
Pretty good.
How about you?
Good, good. Thank you all for your time.
Do you have a presentation?
We do not.
Oh, okay.
Austin Hughes.
So,
Yes.
you just, are you,
Yeah, so just a traditional rezoning. I'd really just bring the 1.17 acre parcel, really just bring it to combine with the neighboring adjoining two parcels that are also zoned highway business in the town.
Okay.
So make it just more consistent with the area and the adjoining parcels.
okay. And do y'all own the other parcels?
Under contract,
Okay,
so on all three, yeah.
all right. Any questions from the?
Do you have anybody on the hook for developing that?
We plan to develop it under highway business.
We really can't consider that as
Oh, I'm
part of
just
the
asking. I'm just
traditional
curious. I
rezoning.
apologize. Strike that. Never mind then. I'll talk to you afterwards.
This
Nice
is,
try there.
Yeah, this is not conditional.
Thank you, ma'am.
This is not conditional.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
We may have a question or two later.
Oh, no worries. I'll just be ready. No, ma'am.
Okay, I now open the public comment time at this time. And if there's anyone who'd like to speak on this, please come and sign in on the roster.
Thank you, everyone. My name's Chris Berger. I have signed in. I'm a 21-year resident of Troutman, proudly. I know this isn't my presentation. Is there a map of this that could be pulled up for everyone?
A map of the property,
Yes, I think there's been a change since the last meeting.
this is a separate, this is a different application, same developer, different application.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's not the one you think it is.
Okay, well, then I'm going to go sit down.
We'll see you in a little while. Okay, good job.
Well spoken, sir.
All right, is there anyone who'd like to speak on this request? Okay, Kim, was there anything sent in? All right, thank you. Okay, we'll now close the public comment time. Are there any comments from the board? Okay. Is there a motion regarding recommendation rezoning RZ 22-05?
I make a motion that we rezone RZ-2205 as requested to highway business zoning.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? We need a motion regarding consistency statement for RZ 22-05.
With regard to case number RZ-2205, rezoning to highway business is consistent with the 2018 Troutman strategic plans. Sorry, let me back that up. Rezoning to highway business is inconsistent with the 2018 Troutman strategic plans future land use map. However, with the adjacent property zoned highway business and multifamily, commercial and industrial uses in the area, the site is unlikely to develop as a medium-density residential. Also, with the properties being located on a major highway and in close proximity to an interstate exchange, highway business development seem most appropriate at this location.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, before we start our next meeting, I think we want to have a bathroom break or a short recess.
Stretch break.
Stretch break. 5 or 10 minutes.
I'll get you.
She's a teacher, she don't need a break. I guess they're streaming this now. Seeing this on our break. I hope. I gotta emphasize that we're not going to repeat everything. Well, I mean, we might get to a point where we probably covered everything.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Mr. President. President, I know that thing I do is bugging me. And every time you do it, I'm like, no.
You gotta bring some glue.
Got some bubble gum. Which was
Has it been like that last
I have no idea. I don't think it was. I might have tore it up last time.
There he is, I didn't see you. No, I'm sitting in the back.
We're going to start in 1 minute.
She worked tonight. She's home now.
Hey, ladies, how you doing?
Okay, well, wait. Wait on Mark.
I didn't do what I did.
Not you.
Oh, the other one. I didn't do what I promised.
That's the problem. God, you didn't. Should. All right, we're ready to get started again. I just want to reiterate, before we get started on our public comment time, that we do need to keep it within the 5 minutes, and also, because we got a lot of people to hear tonight, and if you have the same thing to say, please just let someone else speak, on something different, because it's going to take a little bit, and we want to keep this as short and concise as we can. Okay, item 7C on our agenda is case number CZRM 22-10. River Rock, Perth Road, River Rock Development to consider a rezoning of 28.3 acres approximately located on 970 Perth Road. The request is to rezone the properties from ICR20, Idle County Single Family Residential Development, to CZRM, Conditional Zoning Mixed Residential. I will now turn it over to Lynn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As you stated, this is a conditional zoning request, so we will be looking at a site plan with this one as well. The applicant is River Rock Development. The property is located at 970 Perth Road. Currently, it's zoned suburban residential and Iredell County RA. The request is, it's zoned Iredell County RA. That RS, I think that's a typo. A request is to rezone the property conditionally to mixed residential. All RM districts require CZ approval, so that's one of the reasons we're here this evening. And there also is an annexation request that's part of this application, and that has been submitted and will be considered by Town Council at the same time that this conditional zoning request is brought before them. The property is around 28.3 acres. The applicant is seeking to have this rezoning approved to allow them to build a 99-unit, 55-plus age-targeted attached ranch home community on the property. On the overhead is a copy of an aerial photograph that shows the property's location. You can see the 28 acres highlighted there in red. This is a copy of our land use map. The current land use on this property is medium density residential, as well as all adjoining properties. The current zoning map, you can see there in purple, the R20 in Iredell County, as well as other residential zoning districts within the county surrounding the property. With conditional zonings, we do hold community meetings. I typically don't mention this until later in my presentation, but we had a community meeting on September 20th. There were about 60-plus people in attendance at that meeting. There's a copy of the community meeting report in your packet. Several comments were raised at that meeting that included traffic, the proposed connection to the Twin Creek neighborhood, buffering of adjacent residential properties, as well as negative impacts to schools and property values. Can you just go to the next slide, please? So the reason I mentioned the community meeting earlier in my presentation is because this concept plan was changed since that community meeting and the planning board hearing. The applicant worked with the adjoining property owners, specifically ones in that Twin Creek neighborhood, to reduce the density of the project to 99 units so that they could eliminate the required connection to their neighborhood. Our fire marshal's office, as well as our UDO, requires 2 entrances on developments that are over 100 units. The original site plan showed 105, so they reduced it to 99 so that they did not have to connect to, let me point it out, there's a road here that connects into Twin Creek, and they eliminated that connection there. Again, a TIA was required on this project. It was completed, and a copy of the recommendations is included in your staff report. They were minimal. I believe there was one. They're asking for an eastbound approach to the entrance on Perth to include a single ingress and egress point, as well as a stop control. So in other words, a 2-lane road with a stop sign coming in and out of the development was what the recommendation was. I do not believe DOT has reviewed this TIA either, so I wanted to point that out. The property is in the Catawba Protected Area watershed, so that it will require engineered stormwater measures per North Carolina regulations, and I believe they are showing that on their site plan as well. With conditional zonings, typically applicants do provide us with a list of conditions. So this is the list of conditions that the applicant is presenting to you all this evening for consideration. Of course, the attached concept plan will be part of this approval, which is typical with conditional zonings. They are suggesting or agreeing to limit the maximum number of units to 99. They have agreed to limit the density of the overall project to no more than 3.5 dwelling units per acre. They've agreed that ranch-style units will be designed to include varying pitches, carriage-style garage doors, including hardware and upper windows, an exterior carriage and gooseneck lights. Each front facade shall include an element of shaker accents and or brick or stone veneer. One of the reasons I want to point out that this is the only opportunity that we as a board in the town have to attach architectural standards to residential units. So I wanted to point that out, that the conditional zoning process is our chance to talk about that. They also have agreed that building with 3 units will consist of 2-car garages on the end and 1-car garage for the middle unit. That the developer will install or maintain a minimum 40-foot vegetative buffer, screening around the east, west, and south sides of the project. A minimum 20-foot vegetative buffer will be provided on the north side of the project, and where possible, these vegetative perimeter buffers will utilize existing foliage. The last condition states that there shall only be 1 point of ingress and egress for the project located on Perth Road. River Rock Development will provide assistance to the adjoining neighborhood regarding their current roadway conditions. I believe that the applicant late this afternoon submitted a revision to that condition, but I do want to point out that that condition right there is not really something that we can attach to this conditional zoning and the town can enforce. If it's a private agreement between that neighborhood that's in the county and those roads are county, they're private roads actually. It's an interesting situation. It's a public right-of-way, but they were never turned over to the state. So they are maintained by the property owners in that neighborhood. So it would be a private agreement between the developer and those property owners. So I do want to point that out. So that's the end of our presentation this evening. If you all have any questions, I'm happy to answer those. The applicant is here as well and has a presentation. So Mr. Chairman, if you'd like, I'll be happy to turn it over to him at this time.
Yes, that would be great.
Good evening. Thanks for everybody's time. Appreciate it. Thanks for everybody else for coming out as well, and Lynn for your time. I'm Sean Cullen with River Rock Development, the other part of River Rock. Our company's here in Iredell County, just down in Mooresville. So, hopefully to do a lot of these projects in the coming future. This is the updated presentation we did that Lynn referred to, and I apologize I wasn't able to be at the community meeting last week. I was called away for my wife's 55 birthday, so I figure I better not make her upset to be on time for this. So anyway, just really wanted to quickly highlight some of the the aspects of this project. This is one of our new branded concepts we're doing, easy living community for 55 and over age target, as you see these single-family homes. I won't read each of these bullets to you. You guys can go through that. But again, just to kind of hit the high points of that with this 55 and over lifestyle community, there's multiple reasons why this is a great use for not just this community, but other communities around the Iredell County area. And primarily with these ranch-style homes, it offers the folks that are 55 and over. I have friends with it. My parents are part of this too. A lot of people live in a two-story home, which their master bath and master bedroom are on the second floor, and they all have to get up that way because of stairs. So the primary reason for going to this type of community, we've heard in other communities we've talked to as well, is these types of units are desired because there's 0 steps, 0 entry, small spaces within the units. There's only 2 bedrooms and 2 baths, so you don't have families moving in like you would if there were 4 and 5 bedroom homes being developed on this site. Again, kind of just going through the benefits, again, with this development is the minimal amount of traffic impact that she referred to with the TIA that's still going through the review process as well. And the marketing is really a big key. That's one of the questions we had even when we met with some of the residents today to kind of follow up. So from a marketing standpoint, typically when you Google something like, oh, I want to live in a certain area, you Google that. What we try to do from a marketing perspective is target that 55 and over group. So if you're like me or friends of mine where you're helping parents look for places to live and you Google something, you don't type in, senior housing, you type in 55 and over and you get a little bit broader spectrum of developments that are out there to be had. This is, we talked about one of the commitments Lynn had mentioned before. This is one of the renderings of the facades of the buildings we're proposing. Again, we reduced the total number of units from 105 down to 99, and that was part of the discussion that we listened to from the community and went ahead with that reduction. Just again to kind of point out the density, currently there could be 2 dwelling units per acre, so 28 acres, 56 homes. You could do, if you were a single family detached developer, you could do 58 homes, 4 or 5 bedrooms, 2-car garages, lots of families, lots of folks going in and out of there. But again, to carve out this niche, we're not going for 12 units per acre, which would be the maximum of what would be permitted under this zoning. So again, we reduce the zoning or reduce the number of homes in this development down to 3.5. Again, just kind of hitting some of the high points with the amenities that we're trying to provide here for this age-targeted development. And then finally, and this is really for the benefit of the folks that are here, I'd like to just point out, Lynn did a great job of kind of going through and reading these, but we've met with a lot of the adjacent landowners that are here, and whether it is a private agreement, which is a great point, but I'll just read that. River Rock Development, we're willing to provide up to almost $200,000 to the adjoining neighborhood, which is Twin Creek Estates, to facilitate the repair of their existing roads. And we're also agreeing to cover the cost and also do the work on our part to facilitate the process for the abandonment of the right-of-way of Rocky Stream Drive. And I don't need to tell you, I think a lot of you have gotten calls to kind of figure out how that original plat was done, and kind of an odd situation, but we're here to help be part of the solution for that, to eliminate that access point, and then also help them get their roads up to standards. Happy to answer any questions y'all may have, and I'm happy to step aside and listen to what other folks have to say so we can continue to work together to make this a reality.
Do y'all have any questions?
I just have a few questions right now. I'm not sure what slide it was, but I noticed on one of your slides, it said on-site management and maintenance. Does that mean it's like a rental program?
Yes, these will be for rent units. They will range in the price range of $1,900 to $2,200 a month. And yes, all management is taken care of. So any maintenance, any landscaping, it kind of goes back to the decision process of this easy living community where folks want to live somewhere where they don't have that homeowner obligation from an ownership side. And we're bringing in a national firm that's going to actually help us not only lease to 55 and over individuals, but also manage the property as well.
And it's targeted 55, so it's not an enforceable 55.
Well, so it's a great play on terms, and I'm not a lawyer. So there's a restriction, a restrictive delegation that folks do, and you will hear that in the development community. And those typically have requirements where they're going to they have to lease to anyone that's 62 years and over, and no one else can be allowed to live in there. So what we've discovered is there's other folks out there, folks that may, I'll give you an example. Someone that may have fallen, uses a walker, for instance. They could be 50 years old or 80 years old, and they don't have a place to live because everywhere they're looking is an apartment complex that is maybe not folks their age. So they want to find some place to live that's easy to access and get around in. And that's where this development comes in, to allow that opportunity for folks like that to use it.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone else?
How many square feet are these units?
They range in about 1,300 up to about 1,600 square feet. So they're all 2-bedroom, 2-bath is how they're set up. So when you typically look at families or folks that are, and that's what a lot of people ask about is, are families going to be moving in here? And no, that's one, the marketing isn't there, and two, most families aren't looking to live in a small size unit like that. And then again, to go back to the marketing, we're not marketing towards families and folks of that nature.
What kind of amenities are you going to have?
So really, it's the natural buffering, but the landscaping that's there. You noticed on the earlier site plan. I don't know if we could scroll back to the bottom. Oh, sorry. Yeah, even go to the bigger plan. I'm sorry, on the last page. I would say the biggest amenity for us, and we really look at this for all of our projects, is we really try to maintain the existing vegetation and natural areas that are on the property. So I know it's a little bit hard to read, but the mass of green that's in the center of the project, that we've already studied that area. That is a perennial stream that's there. So we are not only maintaining that stream, but then we're also maintaining the buffer on either side of it. So with walking paths and walking areas throughout that development, those are some of the biggest features and the desires we hear of folks that are living in these communities. They want to be able to get out and walk.
What's the shaded thing behind the white thing? I'm assuming the white thing is the three different triplex, whatever you want to call it.
Uh-huh.
And then behind it it's shaded. What is that, at the garage? Or what is
Oh,
it?
yeah. It's actually all one area. The area in front of that, like for the 5 units that's on the east or the right side, those are just the driveways that lead out to the road.
Mm-hmm.
You asking about that?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a different color for the driveway.
Oh, that's just the driveway?
Yeah, these are the actual units here. That's just the coloring of the driveway. There's a representation.
Well, it looks just like a driveway. I should have figured that out myself.
Artist liberties, right?
Yeah. Do you have a rendering that actually shows what it looks like? The one you showed us?
Yeah.
There's 3 units in there?
Yeah, that's a great example of it.
Okay, where are the units?
So
I see garages, 2.
Yes, so the goal is always to provide relief architecturally.
Okay.
So these units, it actually, you enter on the side.
Okay.
And then the same with this one. This is the only one that's, door is kind of tucked in that middle unit, which is the smaller.
And yours are gonna look just like this, pretty much?
Exactly.
Okay. And you've done this before?
This specific building, no. We've kind of begged and borrowed from some other folks that have done it around the country, and this has been the most successful.
Okay.
I want to go 2 steps back and just clarify something when it comes to the age restriction.
Mm-hmm.
When my wife and I moved here, newly married, mid-20s, would we be turned away from this community?
Well, you don't, it's a fine line between turning people away. What we've found from a marketing standpoint is folks like you, because you're going to look for something through Google search, or as my 20-year-old daughter told me, Dad, everybody searches on TikTok now. So who would have thought? So what people are doing is you're typing in a for rent community or for rent, you, not to age restrict you or age target you, but you as a family person aren't going to type in rental unit and then the first one that pops up isn't going to be this, because this is going to be under a 55 and over search engine, which I don't want to give everybody an internet lesson here, but typically on projects like this and any project, when you get into the marketing, you pay the Googles and the TikToks. So when you go, you pay that first search that comes up, then our project would be at the top of that. So anybody as a young family isn't going to type in a for rent community to move into there.
I'll expand on it a little bit more. My wife works in Hickory. When we moved here, that's where she was working. She still works there. I work in Charlotte. We wanted to be in Troutman. We drove around. That's how we found a place to find a home. If I pull in there, inquire about it, because I'm just driving around, is it still an opportunity for me to live there?
There would be an option for it, but all the signage and everything in
I
our...
understand marketing.
Yeah.
Not to cut you off. I
No, no.
understand the marketing portion.
Right.
Could we rent a home in there?
We wouldn't say no, but what we would say is we have not yet filled up our capacity for that 75%, 55 and over.
Okay.
We would take your name and get back to you.
Thank you for clarifying.
Sure.
So that 75% is a hard number?
It's as hard as you can get, yeah. We'd love to be at 80, we'd love to be at 85%.
Okay, any other questions? All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, I've got one, boss. I'm sorry. I apologize.
Sure.
I was going to say this. Kimberly Horn did the traffic study, right?
They did, yes.
And did they market this as a age-restricted community for traffic?
So the ITE category is single-family attached, and that classification kind of falls into that from I don't want to say an age, but that type of classification fits into that.
Makes sense.
And Kimley Horn, Joe Wilson is here.
Basically, there were 3 different categories that this could fall under. It could fall under age restricted, it could fall under senior living, but this had to go under the attached. In other words, the single family attached. If we had gone with the lower, which were the more conservative, it was like 388 trips a day. The current is 788, 789, and it's the industry standard. That's what the ITE Trip Gen manual is for, to take a variety of different uses across the country, very similar, and provide guidance on what you use. Now, we actually did counts because we had this question for the development in Concord, and the counts were actually less than the age restricted category. So in other words, we have another similar location, and we actually counted the traffic there to see the time of day and the number of, so that we could show that this actually falls way below the ITE number.
That, you answered it perfectly. Just a side note, the 760 up on Barium Springs, he put 0 on that TIA. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll probably have some questions a little later.
Don't go far.
Yeah.
All right. I will now open the meeting up for public comment. Please keep it within 5 minutes. We're going to have a timer and less if possible, because we have a lot of people, I'm sure, that want to speak. And if it's redundant, please let someone else speak that has something different to say. If you hadn't, I don't know if you signed in.
I did.
Okay.
I did. Thank you for allowing us to speak. As a member of the Twin Creeks neighborhood, I just had a couple clarification questions. Oh, I'm sorry, Jenna Lesser. Who are the players within this? So who's applying for the rezoning? Who's buying the property? Who's developing the property? I know these are all probably public knowledge, but just for clarification purposes, that's question one. Question two, how secure are these plans to what will be built if approved? So as they tear down trees and whatnot and things change, or is what gets presented with the plan what gets approved, and that's what has to be built? And then what concessions and contingencies that are put into the proposal, what are guaranteed? So the 55 plus question, the, the 99 plus, or 99 homes, is that 100% set, or can that change post approval?
Well, some of it I can answer. The 99, if that's what they're proposing and that's what's they've agreed to, and it gets approved by town council, that is what they'll build. They can't build more than that. They could probably build less, but they can't build more. And the conditions that go with it will also it'll be recorded, registered deeds, and goes with the development. If they sell it, it'll go with it. The only way they can change it is come back and apply for a rezoning again.
So that is possible then, if something gets approved now, the developer leaves or abandons the property, whatever, someone could come in and rezone to something else.
Well, typically, I mean, if they sell it or they can do the same thing without doing anything. They have to follow the same guidelines of what's there. They can come back, anybody can ask for a rezoning on any property, so that's always a possibility on anything. And
Yeah, just that the rezoning, it stays with the land, not the developer. So once the property is rezoned, this rezoning is attached to this piece of property. So say Red Rock Development decides they don't want to build this, another builder could come in and build it exactly as approved. So it's approved if it gets approved.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
thank you.
I'm going to jump in before my points are used up. My name is Paul Bryant. Just a few things to say. I should take considerably less than 5 minutes. I want to thank you for the opportunity to address the board and ask that logic prevail here tonight. A few minutes ago, the developer asked that this board recommend approval of proposed River Rock development, a development that boasts now 99 dwelling units, 33 multifamily triplex rental units. He focused several times on the word rental, rental, rental. To be built in the middle of an area of the county and the town that is exclusively medium to low density, single family, detached, rural, residential, agricultural, and medium density suburban neighborhoods. There is no multiple family, no rental housing within this western side of the town of Troutman. He says it's consistent with the current Troutman land use plan and is a good deal for Troutman. Really? Ladies and gentlemen, when you consider the current land use plans governing how the community expects this area to grow, you have little choice but to recommend denial of annexation as well as denial of this development. Why? The Iredell County Horizons 2030 plan, which currently governs the property, clearly shows this area to remain low-density residential agriculture. The proposed development is not consistent with the county plan and therefore not consistent with the community vision represented by those plans. Most of these folks live in the county. Number two, the 2018 Troutman land use map shows the entire area to remain as medium density single family detached. Keep that thought in mind, detached residential. The developer's claim of consistency with the Troutman plan is not supported by the 2018 plan, nor will the updated land use map scheduled to go before this committee next month will be consistent with that revised plan, in my opinion. Last, Troutman Unified Development Ordinances disallow multiple family developments, single family attached housing, and duplexes in rural preserve, suburban residential, and town residential districts, zoning districts. When you consider those facts and listen to these community voices that you have heard previously last week, and you'll hear again tonight, and probably if it makes it to council, you listen to those voices, I hope the path is clear. Deny this River Rock development. It does not belong on the west side of Troutman along Perth Road, which is premium walkable neighborhoods of medium and low density housing today, and there's no reason to put this here in the future when we have approved this type of housing in the north side of town, this type of housing down at 42 in the south side of town, and in the center, or the close to exit 42 in the Rocky Creek development, all of whom are being built or associated with these groups of developers. Do we want to allow one or two developers that are working together to determine what the future of our town will look like? Or do we want the people to decide what the town is going to look like? If we continue, they are going to tell us what it will look like 5 and 10 years from now. Thank you. Don't let it happen.
Thank you.
Hi. I want to point out
Please
to...
state your name.
Oh, Franny Hanrahan.
Did you sign in?
I did. I live in Twin Creeks, and I'm sure you guys know this information, but I'm not sure everybody else here does. So I want to point something out, and then I want to, it might have to get directed to the developers, because a couple things are maybe questionable. But Prestige is the company that's doing Barium Springs and is buying this piece of property that they are then selling to River Rock, is my understanding, and I got that directly from River Rock this morning. Sorry, trying to open my phone here. Prestige has 4 approved developments in Troutman. They have many other developments, many other places, but they have 4 in Troutman. I've got all the numbers if anybody needs them. I'm sure you guys already know all this. If you add those up, they are adding, just one company, Prestige, the developer, is adding 8,800 people to Troutman. So, and I've got the numbers right here if anybody doubts my numbers, and I got them directly from, oh, by the way, I forgot to say, Lynn and Andrew are amazing. They have been so kind to the public, calling them and asking these complicated questions to be dumbed down. They're amazing. Like, the staff is amazing. Okay, anyways, so I have verified these numbers that I'm right. So you add this to Troutman, you're literally one company, just Prestige, not any other project, just this one company, is tripling the Troutman population. That was shocking to me, to say the least. Tripling the population, one company. Okay, so that's, you know, are we tripling the police force, or do they just have to do triple the work? Are we tripling the schools, or do the kids just have to sit on the floor of the buses more? I don't know, but that to me is a shocking number, and I think everybody in Troutman should be aware of the building that's going on. We all want to grow. We all want our houses to be worth more, and our lives to, and us to have nice shopping and all of that. We all want that, but at a reasonable pace. Just want to make sure everybody here knew that. Now, as far as the few changes, I'll say River Rock has been, they're lovely people. They have been very kind, also responding to us, and have answered some of our questions and made some concessions to make this more palatable. But they are still putting rentals in up against our neighborhood, and that's okay. It's not what it's zoned for. It's not what we bought into. We can't stop forward progress, but something that just happened here moments ago that's quite concerning is that they presented our $200,000 road improvement that they've agreed, and the abandonment of the right-of-way. They presented it to us, and they're good people, hopefully. They presented it as it was a binding deal. They said if it was in this, it was binding. Lynn says that's not the case. She says it's a private agreement and unenforceable. So somebody's going to have to tell me how we're going to get our 2K over in Twin Creeks, because we want our roads fixed if we're going to support this in any way. I don't know how much our opinion matters. Also, I just want to point out to anybody interested that River Rock, currently, they're going to have a management company. They are going to stay with the property. That's their plan. But at any point, they can sell this property. They have to do this plan, but once this plan is done, they can sell it. Anyone can management. They can put in any kind of housing. Well, the housing will be done. They can have any kind of tenant there that they want. So, oh, by the way, we did ask them, could it be restricted like some of the other Prestige properties are restricted aging? They did not, they declined doing that, and I understand why. It makes it harder to get investor support because it does limit the options. But by the way, have we all noticed that, you know, we're in a major, economists say we're definitely going in a bit of a decline, a recession. Do we really need, you know, 8,800 more homes? Like, are they all flocking to Troutman? Are these going to get filled? And if they don't get filled, what's going to happen to this 99-unit property? Are we going to fill it with what? I have no idea, but I know that, you know, they're keeping their options open. They're not doing the age restricted, and I'm not sure where I stand on the rezoning, honestly, because this might be our best way to stop the road, but but it's all uncomfortable. And I definitely don't support it unless somebody can tell me how this is enforced. Where's my $22,000 for our road? 200,000. 200,000. So can somebody tell me how we're going to enforce the $200,000? Because if that doesn't, if somebody, I take checks. So that's all. Can you guys tell me how we enforce that?
Well, like I said, that would be between you and the developer. That would be an agreement. That would be a private agreement. We can't enforce, the town cannot legally enforce a private agreement.
Okay. Because that's a big part of our, potential support of this would be to have that. Anyways, I'll let somebody else talk. I just want to make sure everybody's got that information.
All right.
Thanks for the job you do. This is complicated.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Tina Dula. I'm on the sheet. I have no documentation. I literally found this out about 3 hours before I came. My dad's property joins this, 14 acres. I grew up here, so I know all about that land. And I was talking to someone, and he brought it to my attention because I forgot that his father buried a lot of stuff on that property, and lots of stuff. And one of the things we were concerned about was like asbestos, lead. There's a big oil tank buried there. Can't remember if it's 400 or 600 gallon tank. But until he started talking to me, I did not realize 4 people that grew up there had cancer. One of them died. So I thought, man, I need to start investigating this, but I just found out 3 hours ago. So my question is, when they start doing all this digging up, what's going to happen to it? Like, who hauls it off? And I know you have to call the EPA. I know that now. Didn't know it 3 hours ago. Like I said, totally unprepared. But I started thinking about it, and I'm like, wow. Because 3 of those people, one of them's my brother, 2 of them are my cousins, one of them died. The other one had stage 4, grew up right on that property. Cancer in his leg. He's in remission now. So I guess I'm concerned if you dig all of that up, which I'm not even sure it's safe to be under the ground. But what's going to happen? And I'm sorry, their traffic study is not right. I live there now. I was walking to my aunt's house, which I do all the time, was going to cross the road, minding my own business, not looking, did not realize that I had a string of traffic behind me because I was standing in someone's driveway because I needed to walk across the road to look. And I looked, and they were nice enough not to blow the horn for me to get out of their driveway because I'm like, da, 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 da. And I had 10 people, this was 2 o'clock in the afternoon, lined up trying to get into their driveway because I'm in it trying to cross the road. So that is a lot of traffic you're putting on Perth. My dad won't drive anymore because he's scared to drive just to Troutman because of the traffic. So I'm just asking, my question is, let's say you deny it, you approve it, whatever. What does the town of Troutman, do they listen to you guys? Or is this like a done deal that they're going to be like, oh, sorry, you came before us. And I'm not being disrespectful to any of you. This is the first time I've ever been here. I've ever done anything like this. I'm just curious, did they listen to you guys? Or, you don't have to answer me.
I'll say it this way, I plead the fifth.
Okay, and that's fine.
No, what we do, we make recommendations to the council, and we've got several council members in the audience right now, bend their ear. But we only make recommendations, and then they vote. So, yeah, whatever we approve or disapprove tonight will go in front of them next Thursday?
October the 13th.
I'm sorry.
So I only have till then to do my research, to October 13th? Okay. I'll get better prepared next time. Thank you.
Thank you.
How you doing?
Very well.
Good. Thank you for having me. Thank you for being here and listening. My name is Patrick Bannon. I live at 988 Perth Road. I have apparently reduced 1 unit on my lot line, but I live right along that bottom buffer, not right on Perth Road, the house behind it. So, yeah, about where the red started, all the way back to that line. And I did also start a petition. I think we maybe think a little bit alike. We did a couple handwritten and online. So online, I was able to get home just in time to print a CSV format for you. I believe it's grown 20 people since we got here. It started on Wednesday. I believe I have about 210.
I'll take that.
And I will keep Lynn updated because I'm going to keep it running through October 13th. I want to start by saying that this is not my usual element. It's not something I do. Like Tina, I've never done anything like this. But this is as bad a plan as I've ever seen. I sell real estate. I have a real estate firm in Statesville. I keep about 15 agents. I'm absolutely not anti-progress. However, Sarah and I moved to Troutman a little over a year ago. She cried leaving Statesville. We think Statesville really cared about us. Troutman, we have heard differently from people that are here. 21 is a nightmare through Troutman during school, in the morning, in the evening, when work lets out. Really, for any occasion, 21 through this town can be a nightmare. If 77 is an accident, his traffic, horrible. So I'll get to that. This community already feels underserved and wants a better plan. The only reason I know that is because I got outside of my friend group and spoke to people about this project and about this petition. I spend a lot of time listening to what people say, how it's said, and try to be able to advise my clients how that's going to go based on the way it's said to me, whether it sounds like fact, sounds like they're lying to you, whatever. Sorry, I'm a little bit nervous. I don't do this. I'm wrong sometimes, but I'm right a lot more frequently. I know that the most honest man in the room doesn't have to be untruthful. I know that the one that knows the facts does not have to move the goalpost or change the subject, and the smartest man in the room does not have to call others names or denigrate others. So it struck me odd coming to the community meeting last Tuesday when the developers, who it was assumed would have liked to have the neighbors' support, began with a couple untruths, some rude comments under their breath. I got to thinking, what do they know that we don't know? They obviously are not here to try to gain our support. So you would think that's the opposite of the way to win us over. I admit it was a hard room because it's our backyards, not theirs. You were asked earlier, would you do this? We asked them. Goalpost shifted. Oh, I'm thinking about trying to move my mother here. Okay. Like I said, hard room. The great philosopher, George Carlin, if you guys know him, called this the principle of NIMBY, not in my backyard. It's the thought process that prisons, schools, commercial developments, things that don't fit your planned zone use are great, but not in my backyard. Well, here's the problem. Troutman's a small town, and because of that, this is everyone's backyard. Therefore, I know that the more time I have with this petition, we've only had 5 days, the larger it will grow. Some of those zip codes are from outside of this area. When you start an online petition, it immediately goes out to a whole lot of people. It's picking up steam. Every day, we're getting more and more people at a larger clip and local. Why is that? Because the local people are sharing it. So I know that by October 13th, we'll have, my goal was 200. We've got there. I believe that we'll have 10% of the population by the end of this week, and I hope to get to 25% of the population in Troutman that disagrees with it. Back to the meeting and winning us over. The only reason to believe that they did not care about us and told us untruths and presented them as fact or made snide denigrating comments under their breath is they feel like they don't need this, they didn't need our support, and it's just a step that had to be taken to push on to the next. As a matter of fact, it was stated by them more than once. At least 3 times they said, we have to do this. This is part of the process. From the very beginning, we were told that there was a lack of ranch homes in the area in their presentation. I told you what my profession is. I immediately disagreed, told him that there was not a lack of ranch homes in this area. He said I was wrong. I pulled the MLS data. At that time, and this is 6 days old, 106 homes in Troutman out of 336 homes sold in the last 180 days were ranch homes, nearly 1 in 3. I don't believe we have a lack of ranch homes, not to mention that if a tenant goes to one of those apartment complexes and something doesn't work for them and it's not ADA compliant, they have to give them the right to do it. So at their own cost, but they have to give them the right to do it. So we were told that. Whenever I told them that there were 100 or 1 in 3 homes were sold in the 180 days, they changed the goalpost again. Is it ADA compliant? When questioned about the traffic study and being told, I believe it was 15 to 16 seconds to turn left from State Park Road onto Perth. Right? I live literally right there coming out onto Perth. We've timed it now 4 times in the last 2 days at 28 seconds, 48 seconds, 55 seconds, and a minute and 2. I will get video before October 13th if I need it. So instead of just relaying the data and standing behind it, he started showing his seal, said, I want everybody to see this, this is my seal, and saying that his integrity was being questioned. No such thing was done that I heard. As a matter of fact, most people ask these questions. When was it performed? What time of day? What time of year? We're near the lake. It's a special area. There's different times of days and different times of years that the traffic's heavier.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
Timer has gone off, so
Oh,
if you
sorry.
could wrap it
I
up.
will wrap.
He can take my time. Yeah, he can take
Can I do that? I've got probably 2 minutes. So, a disagreement in numbers, in my opinion, is not a question of anybody's integrity. Why do you move the goalpost unless your position cannot be defended? At one point, one of the gentlemen was making rude comments under his breath, and my wife asked him to please stop being rude to people who have real questions and real concerns. There are several more instances of these untruths and skewed numbers, but my time is limited. I've obviously run over. Back to what they know that we don't know. The light came on. Talking to people about this petition, there were a number of people, and you heard it voiced here, I think twice. 1 or 2 people said, do they listen to you? Do they care? What's going to happen? That's the number 2 reason I was given for signing the petition, is that the people of Troutman feel like that the people that plan these projects and approve these projects don't care about them, that they have no voice, that they're going to lose no matter what. So, the biggest question that we have was voiced by other people as well, is that many of these in many of the neighboring properties, I guess all of the neighboring properties are actually in the Troutman ETJ. So being annexed into Troutman obviously produces revenue for the town of Troutman. Maybe they don't care about the people that are in the ETJ. They vote for the county. That was the reason for the petition, trying to get your neighbors, the people that live inside these city limits, to let you know that they're concerned as well about their neighbors. So let's talk about the River Rock development. It's looking at placing 35 triplex rental units on this acreage. At that time it was 35, I guess it's 33 now. When asked about single-family residential property, he stated that's not what they do, but that they could probably get approximately 58 3 to 4 bedroom units on the same parcel. I believe today he said 58 4 to 5 bedroom units. By his own thought process and his own admission, the triplexes would average 1.2 people per unit, or by my math, 126 people. He also stated that 58 larger single-family residential units would have more people, and he used this to try to refute the traffic data and claiming that it would add more traffic. The average household in the U.S. is 2.51 people. 58 units times 2.51 people is 145 people versus the 126 he told me that he may get. I believe this is negligible and probably winds up being the same. If this is about revenue at all, then you have to consider that 58 single-family residential units would bring in similar or higher revenue in property tax, and if there are a few more people in these homes, that would be more revenue spent in town, sales tax, more for the businesses here. This also already fits into the plan for the county and the town, as it's already been zoned for projects like this. I ask that you not be nearsighted on this and show your neighbors that you actually care about them and care about their voices. And going forward, listen to them and hear what they have to say. I did not jump into some of the other areas, school bus, class size, buffer sizes, things like that, because I believe there's going to be enough people speaking and they're going to hit those points. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank
All right, does anyone have any other comments that are different?
I'll speak on this too.
My name's Chris Berger. I am on the list. Thank you. Thanks for your time, everyone. I know this is frustrating. It's got a lot of people yelling at you. Nobody likes that. I want to come a little bit more heartstring of the town of Troutman. As I sit in the back, that waterworks map's from 1923. I pulled a quick Zillow of this property. It was on the market for one day, sold for $1.5 million, I think's the number. It went pretty quick. This is the description. A rare find, 28 acres on Perth Road. This home offers a charming throwback to simpler times and has been updated over the years. Bring your special touch to make it yours. Convenient to Troutman, Mooresville, and amenities in Iredell County. Easy access to Lake Norman. Who could ask for anything more? With an older barn on the property, you could bring horses, toys, and just have great storage space. That's what Troutman is. If I could just point to where I am. They spoke a lot about talking to people. This community has their own things, and they're doing a great job. They've got a lot of hard work on it. I'm here. There's 3 people on the north side. They talked about increasing buffers in all the area. I asked to be spoken to as a landowner. I probably, next to maybe you, I've got 300 feet here. So at this point now, if Evel Knievel could liquor throttle this thing, could probably jump my chimney. So I'm bummed that this entire street runs right into the living room and the master bedroom in the back of my yard. So there is a buffer here, but my intention is I don't dig any of this. I've been here for 21 years. There used to be horses, donkeys. It was a farm. It was a single farm, and it always has been. And I don't want it to be annexed. I want it to be able to be a farm. I'd like for somebody to have the opportunity to buy it. Being on the market for one day doesn't show that there's a need for this. This was scooped up, and I think it was bought pretty easily, thinking that, hey man, everything else we've asked for the town of Troutman to go has been pushed through. I mean, who's going to roll out 1.5 going, I don't know if they're going to go for it. I'm going to have to really woo the people of Troutman, not come in stomping their feet and acting a fool. So it's a bummer. Who doesn't want, I was really lucky for all this time. I've had a farm in my backyard. I didn't have to pay for it. I got to look at it though. But cutting hay, half of that thing is woods right now, and it would be a real bummer if this is a time that we can draw a line in Troutman and say, we've got enough for folks. We don't need this overwhelming growth. We can remain a small farming community, have room to drive up and down the road, and not have to deal with traffic. I mean, the exit that they've got now, if you go stand in that thing, heading towards Mooresville, you're 50 yards from the crest of that hill. So now you've got what they want to claim to be old folks ripping out, heading back into Troutman. I mean, I made the joke, they act like once Nana's Matlock special's over, she's not going back into town. Nobody's going to be driving up and down the road. So let it be a farm. Just let it stay as Troutman is. Everything doesn't have to grow into stuff that we don't need. It's not the town's civic duty to start building ADA compliant things. There's enough places to be. We don't have to, they're tugging at heartstrings to try to get us to go along with it. I mean, I don't want to railroad none of the folks in the neighborhood. Everybody's got their own intentions, but it's a buy-off. Oh, we'll pay your neighborhood. There's no access to that neighborhood other than the easement that they've got. They're here willing to throw out bribes of, we'll pave your roads if you let us build this thing. Well, what do I get? I mean, none of us should have to get anything. We should just be able to leave it like it is. Let it go on the market. Let it be a farm that it's always been. So the light pollution, something that's nothing ever brought up. I could sit on the back porch when they built the Target in Mooresville, and I was there when it hit the switch, and it was a bummer. That was Mooresville. So now you're talking about having old folks, you're going to have lights in it. I'm 40 feet from the edge of this, going by what easements they want. What kind of lights? Headlights turning into it off the road, and just the lights of the property itself. These are things that, selfishly, and it sucks. So let it be a farm. Let Troutman remain as it was. Thank you.
I'll follow his path for just a moment. This is my house. The only thing I can add, two things. I'm sorry, Glenn Smith, I am signed. 200,000 is not going to do diddly for roads. We estimated 2 years ago a year ago, and it was over 2.5 at that time. So that helps, but it's not going to solve our road issue. The only other thing I can add that hasn't been mentioned by our neighbors, and I think that gentleman hit it on the most, the farm aspect. I have a lot of Mother Nature in my backyard. It's all going to be gone. They say it won't. It's all, I'm not going to have those deer and the rabbits and the raccoons in my backyard that I feed. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else have anything?
Ben Atkins, I have not signed in just on the lectern, is that correct? Is that what you'd like? Okay, I'll sign in before I'm done. Just real quick, I live in the Twin Creeks subdivision. My statement is just that I know there are some conditions being proposed with road maintenance. We actually live in the reason our road is not up to spec is the developer went out before the road was completed. So to rush into some sort of condition without any sort of legal bindings, I think would be inappropriate. We've already been burned as a neighborhood once with that. If there's any reason to rush to next week's meeting, I would seem to be inappropriate before any legal binding things were put in place. I appreciate the concessions, I appreciate the reach out, but I see no reason to rush. That's my point. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else with any new information? Comments? All right. Kim, did you get any? All right, thank you. I will now close the public comment time. Are there any comments from the board?
I've got some just small concerns. I was trying to do a little bit of math and with the TIA with that. Looking at Perth Road right now, in 2019, Perth Road had 12,500 vehicles a day. Currently, right now, it was taken at 2020 was 11,000 vehicles a day. So taking a left out of there is going to be more than 12 seconds. I mean, with the where does my math go? With that, with the 99 dwelling units and it being 2.2 families per unit, given the percentages and the amount of traffic, looking at trying to get a turning lane, I think a turning lane is warranted if it is approved, at a minimum. Being able to get on Perth, to get in and out safely of this. I also think that, dropping it by policy, if it's 100 units, they have to have 2 accesses. Cutting it by 1 so that you only have to deal with 1 access point. If that access point ever fails and something happens on the lower side, especially if they're 55 and older, there's going to be heck to pay in that right there as far as getting emergency response to it, in my opinion. But by policy, 99 is the threshold. You got to have it. You got to do it that way. That's just me. I'm a little bit conservative. I got a little heartburn on that and the density. And not to mention, if he paves it, I don't know how many streets he's got. $200,000 will run you about 1.5 miles in asphalt.
Well, personally, I have some concerns. I definitely, I like the concept. I'm not sure this is where it needs to be. I do feel like, we do need this, we're always talking about being diverse and offering diverse type of housing. And, we really don't have a lot of townhomes and apartment complexes, and we are going to start seeing some more of that. But I'm not sure putting something like this smack dab in the middle of an area that the county deems as low density and we deem as medium density is the right place for it. I also have concerns about having just one access. And like you were saying, if that's the age group and that access is blocked for whatever reasons, you know, that, and I don't like, you know, the TIA. Again, you know, I feel like there needs to be more, if as a town, if this goes forward, the town's going to have to put more on the developer in creating some type of access, either turning lanes or something to that effect, to help with the congestion of the traffic.
Any other comments? I mean, it's a multi-family, it's not a single family. Basically, it's a multi-family development.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
What did staff recommend?
Based on the land use plan, staff was recommending denial because it's not single-family residential, medium-density residential, even though it does call for 3 to 4 units per acre. It also specifies that it should be single-family residential.
have any questions for the developers? Or? Okay. All right. Is there a motion regarding rezoning CZ RM 22-10?
I'll just make a motion.
You gonna make it?
I will do it.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, I would like to make a motion to deny. Was it CZ RM 2210? You need the consistency statement?
Not yet.
Okay, go ahead.
A second.
Okay.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, now we need a motion for a consistency statement for CZ RM 22-10.
Okay. With regards to CZ RM-22-10, rezoning to CZ RM is inconsistent with the 2035 future land use map due to the future land use map showing the property to be developed as medium-density residential, as the development is not single-family residential and is not in harmony of the surrounding area. In addition, the town engineer didn't agree with section 5.2 of the traffic generation. It's also not consistent with the Iredell 2030 Horizon Plan, and multi-units do not fit the definition for medium-density residential.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, just so y'all know, I guess the town council will also be
It's October the 13th.
October the 13th, and town council will do their public meeting different. They will not allow this much time, and you might want to check to see how they do their process, so you'll know how to approach them. Thank you very much. Thank y'all.
Move to adjourn? No.
All right.
We got, I already made the motion, we said other
We're not done.
Folks, we still have more business, so if you could please take your conversation outside in the hallway. We're not done with our meeting. Thank you very much.
Oh, how you doing? 5:40. Where's the gun?
Thank you. Thank you all very much. Thank you.
Okay, item 8, other business. There is none unless you have.
Just an update that I'm sure you all are aware that the Barium Springs project was approved at the last council meeting. And I believe that's the only item of business that you all have heard that's gone to council since we met last. So.
All right, thank you.
I do want to say thank you for your staff. Y'all are awesome.
Yes, staff.
You are, you really are. We got that validated tonight, too.
Yeah.
Several times, actually.
All right, thank you. And is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a second? All those in favor?
Amen.
Aye.
All right, meeting adjourned.